Yo, I've been loving the art you've been putting out.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, man. Over break, I just got like super lonely, super in tune with myself, and then I just got super in tune with some other things. You feel me? And I just started like flowing, bro. Like I started microdosing a little bit and like
Psilocybin?
psilocybin, bro.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, I was doing like the hood microdose. Like, yeah, I'm a microdose, and they're like, pleek, and you're like micro. And like, that's like really. That's how 99% of people are microdosing, bro. Like,
Right. No measurement.
there's no measurement. They're like, some people are like for people that don't know, people are like grinding the shits in the grinder, maybe buy a grinder just for your shrooms, and then they like measure it out. I don't do that, but people do that, and that's good. It's not a bad thing, but like people do that so they can be very specific to.
I like being exact.
Yeah, I like that too. Like,
yeah.
But there's other people that are microdosing. They just like, get 2 parcels from somebody's Ziploc bag, and they break that up and just pop shit and see what happens, and like. That's their form of microdosing. That's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was doing that type of microdosing though. I was hitting the tink.
Just intuitively feeling it out.
Yeah, and then so like some nights I'd be like, oh nice. So other nights I'd be like, oh nice. And then all of a sudden I was just like very artistically infused. Like female that I have in my life right now, my girlfriend, she's got me like on one too, and I like all that shit blend together with the isolation of Corona.
Yo, so the psilocybin, bro, it makes you more in tune with your emotions. It makes you more in tune with the people around you. You can like you're more empathetic.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
It like and then it like even opens up like your receptors after the days after that you use it.
Like one analogy I've heard that's really nice too, like with shrooms, is like if you, depending on like the gradient of which you take them, regardless, like the days later, there's like not the hangover effect. There's not like all these like negative side effects that could be frustrating within your head of how you feel, sensibility, and like you obviously, it's almost like here's the analogy is that if you're skiing down a mountain all day, you see all the ruts. You're snowboarding down a mountain, you see all the man-made ruts, and those are like your normal your normal synapse pathways that are like very vigorous and regular, and like over years, perhaps maybe you haven't even tried like anything yet, and then now the day after, it's like fresh powder snow. Like it's time to like recalibrate and like reconnect synapses. So they might be the same synapses for the same physiological or mental reasoning, but like now it's maybe more direct. It's more like proper and clean and cut, not so like ruddy and dug deep.
Yeah, it's like when fresh snow comes down over those ruts, right, and fills them all up, and there's nothing. You blaze your own path the next day.
Period. I like that. I feel that's how it feels.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah, it's almost like a reset.
So yeah, it definitely is like a reset, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of them, man. I feel like they've done a lot of good for me in the regards of it's allowed me to put a different lens through how I perceive the world and like how I perceive myself, more importantly. And
beautiful, bro.
It allows me to kind of look inward and analyze myself and question myself, and it dissolves like my ego, right? It like forces me to ask myself like some hard questions, and it allows you to kind of get in touch with yourself in a way that you might not have been able to without them.
No, I agree with that. And I think that's like what people like first trying it will like come to realize eventually on their own, but like especially if someone's explaining that to them, and then when they're in the moment they like might have that slight ideology of what you just said, it really clicks with you and you're like, wow, like there's just a way to kind of like take the edge off, like they say with like beer or smoking, but like it's in a more of like a people could almost like get it confused and say spiritual. Some people might argue and say it is spiritual, but it's like definitely the more like of get in touch with your soul type of way.
I definitely think that there's a spiritual aspect to them. I think any psychedelic psychoactive drug is helping you. Because think about it, throughout history, throughout time, there's always been like shamans, right? And like witch doctors, different people in like different tribes throughout society that have had the role where they've used psychedelic, whether it was like mushrooms or plants, whatever, right? And they were all super spiritual. They were usually like the religious head of whatever village, tribe, city that they were in. And I think that there's like a direct correlation between them.
No, I think so too, bro. And I think like there's a way, like depending on where you're at in your life when you're taking them, you can like use them to like harness more power. If you're already on a healthy, power, positive movement forward, and you're like introducing that, like that'll help amplify that. If you're also in the contrary, like in a very demise spot, but you like have a glimmer of hope, it might enhance that hope. Maybe if you don't have any hope, it might enhance the fear. So like there's that little stigma that people have, like, oh, I don't want to have a bad trip. Like really, it's just like if you're in a bad mindset and you know you're not stable, there's no reason you should have your hands on that. But if like you're like trying to like think of this as a positive, you're already on the right path anyway. If you introduce something like that, it's going to enhance that positive.
I agree with that for sure, but I think it's important to have those bad trips, right, per se, because it's like particularly psilocybin is a guide. It's a guide through your subconscious. And if you're having a negative experience or you're having like these negative feelings coming up and being amplified, that's because like they're underneath the surface somewhere and you're not dealing with them. And they've guided you to some of the issues that you have in your life that you are ignoring. And it is perceived as bad, but if you really look at it for what it is, because it's like one of those things where you see somebody commit a crime type thing, or you see someone do something bad, and instead of like either standing up and doing something for it, you turn away, look the other way, and act like you didn't see it. That's how that bad experience can be. You could have a bad trip, see something about yourself that you've been ignoring and freak you out. And then when you come back, right, it's just like you act like you never saw it and you don't ever address it.
Yeah,
but if you do address it and act like you actually saw it, you're going to come out that said negative experience better than you were going into it.
Right. Hell yeah. 1,000%.
It's a guide, bro.
It's a guide, bro. And once you get into with that and you're in that ideology of like, this is like an amplifier, this is like something that I can use to amplify myself in the right direction. That's when it's like medicine. Otherwise, it's this like unknown placebo. I'm going to like think it's whatever a wild emotion I have. I think I'm going to latch that to this like scary thing. Like it's not that. But quick commercial break. I'm going to take a piss, homie.
Okay. It was cool though. I do psilocybin. Now I do not advise I don't advise just anybody to start taking mushrooms, right? Not necessarily for everybody, but I think if you do you do your homework, you know your body and you know what you're doing, or at least find someone that knows what they're doing, you can use these to help you. Like I said, it's mushrooms are medicine. They're a guide. They're going to help navigate your psyche. They're going to help you in ways that, creatively, imagination wise, introspective work. They're going to do things for you that you couldn't do. It's like when you go to the optometrist. And it's like, for those of you who don't have glasses or have to wear contacts, when you go into the optometrist, they'll go, what's more clear? And you're looking at all the letters, lens 1 or lens 2. And there's barely any difference between the two. And he goes, lens 1 or lens 2. Then he throws in lens 3. He goes, lens 2 or lens 3. And there's barely any difference. And honestly, I'm just more confused after all these like lens changes. Right. Right. Like, I'm like, bro, they're all the same. You're fucking with me. I swear to God, you're fucking with me.
No, maybe it was 2. Like, fuck. That's 2 again? That shit. Yeah, that's how I get too.
But that's what the psilocybin does for you, is it puts a different lens over you, and you now can see the world just a little bit. The world's still the world, but you see and notice little things about it that you never noticed before. And they're there because when you don't have that lens anymore, you're still able to perceive those things, because now it guided you to those things. So those things maybe you didn't pay attention to, those things that you were unaware of, now you are aware of, and you can carry that with you.
Because you were neglecting them maybe because like you like wanted to without even knowing you wanted to. And now you're like, damn, like this is crazy. Like I'm unfolding myself a little bit.